Good morning, I'm Bridget Washington, chef and cookbook author, and today at the Diner Igor Teaching and Research Kitchen at NC State University, we are making baked eggs and tomatoes. Now, eggs, of course, are the breakfast food of choice, but in this preparation, what we're doing is that we're taking them and simmering them in some nice aromatic tomatoes and then baking them. By doing this, we're taking a simple, humble egg and transforming it into a heavier, more nutritionally dense dish that's also very, very delicious. So let's get started. The first thing, have our saute pan. I'm going to turn it on to medium heat. And then we're going to add some olive oil into the pan. And as that comes to temp, we're going to add some aromatics into the pan. Some garlic, onions, salt and pepper, tomatoes, and, of course, eggs. That's all. No more, no less. This recipe really shines with a lot of versatility. So, to our oil, we are adding some onions. And what's happening is that when these onions are cooking, they really emit a nice, juicy, flavorful type of juice that comes out. And that really perfumes the rest of the dish with an uncanny amount of minerality as well as flavor. And we're going to cook these until they are translucent. So following that, we are adding some fresh garlic. And garlic I love because not only does a little go a long way, but it is extraordinarily rich antioxidant powerhouse. Just going to saute those. And this right here is going to be the base of these baked eggs and tomatoes. And while these are coming to temp, we are going to talk about why these eggs are extraordinarily important in this dish. Not only are they rich in proteins and omega-3s, but they also have a lot of amino acids. And some people say that what an egg contains most every nutritional element. So, as you can see, this is starting to simmer really nicely. And it's starting to smell great. And they're getting very nice and tender. And you want to be careful to watch this because you do not want this to burn. You don't want to have a lot of color or caramelization on the onions because you really want them to have that longer lasting mellow flavor that perpetuates throughout the dish. And by stirring it, just giving it stirs every now and then, you're really making sure that they're sweated out and not really sauteed out. Because by sweating it, you want to have that natural emission of those juices. So they're getting really soft and translucent. And next, we're going to use our tomatoes. So here we have just a simple can of crushed tomatoes. And tomatoes, be it canned or fresh, are high in fiber and vitamin C and potassium. The thing is, in winter, when tomatoes are not at their peak, canned tomatoes are a great substitute. You get a lot of the flavor, not the sweetness that you will find during a fresh peak of season summer tomato, but you still get the flavor and the punch of acid and that really nice tomatoey goodness that we all like. So here we go. To our onions and garlic, we're adding the tomatoes. There we go. And we're just going to let this cook. And then we're going to add some oregano. And oregano gives this dish a really good earthy, woodsy flavor. And it really brings out some of the natural flavors of the garlic as well. So we are going to let this simmer for a little while. And then the next step in this dish is that we are going to make little pools. Yes, pools. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create a space for each of our 6 eggs. We're going to crack them into the pan, and then we're going to put them in an oven that's already preheated at 375. And the reason that we're doing that is because these eggs essentially is the name of the dish. They're being baked in tomato sauce. So the simple egg is going to be cracked into this tomato sauce and then baked and topped with some basil. And it will be incredibly simple, but also wildly unexpected. So you want to heat this through until you see those nice bubbles appear. And then I'm just going to create these little pools, spaces in. And then we're going to crack our eggs right into there. So here we go. And it goes. And you see, the yolk makes space for itself. And we just keep going until we get all 6. Number 5 in the middle. Last but not least, number 6. So I'm done handling the eggs and I'm going to wash my hands. And then, last but not least, it is extraordinarily important to season these eggs. So we're going to season them with 1 teaspoon of salt and following that, some pepper. And they are going to cook. Now, as you can see, these eggs are very raw. They are very jiggly. There's a lot of movement to it. You can tell. You know when an egg is cooked? When it's set. However, that's not always the case. And that's why it's very important to tamp these eggs. These eggs should be cooked to 160 degrees. And while they are cooking like this, we are going to finish them in the oven. So they're going to go into a preheated oven for 10 to 12 minutes. And that oven is at 375. So we're going to take them off the heat and take this to the oven. Where they'll finish cook for 10 to 12 minutes. It's been a little over 12 minutes, so now we are going to check on our baked eggs. And as you can see, they are bubbly and delicious. We're going to check our temperature to make sure it's at 160 degrees. And it is at 170, which is perfect. So now we're going to finish it by just using some hand-torn basil. And fresh basil is I always opt for fresh basil because you get a lot more flavor than dry basil, and it's also very readily available during the year, thanks to hydroponic growth. And now we're just going to plate it. So here we have 2 pieces of pumpernickel bread, but you could use pita, and you're going to take 1 of the eggs and put it on there, and you could break into it and see. It's a fully cooked yolk, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. So there you have it, baked eggs and tomato.